Oh gee, this is gonna be rough.
Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and with the exception of one exceptionally done film, the Disney remakes have been pretty darn poor, which is why I have not been that interested in the new remake of Mulan, and I wasn't intending on seeing it, but I was interested in seeing the reactions, and the reactions have been very interesting. So much so that it actually gave me a glimpse into some of the combat and fight scenes, and when I saw what was going on in there, I was just like, oh wow, now I have to see it, not because it looks good, but because of how incredibly bad it looked. And so I had a look at, this is one of those movies that only come up, upon us once in a blue moon, where the logic it's just gone out the window, and what we are seeing is astoundingly stupid. So, as I've always said, just because something has fantastical elements in it doesn't mean that it should throw out basic principles like the laws of physics. And in a general sense, they don't, because they're still constricted by the laws of gravity in some instances, and not in others. But for generally, okay, basic principles of realism do apply, and when they subvert them just for the sake of laziness, it ruins immersion, okay? And in actual fact, if you conform to some measure of practical realism, even in a setting or thing that has fantastical elements, it can make it seem more grounded and help us accept those fantastical elements. And the other thing is, if you're consistent with those fantastical elements, those things can feel as real as the laws of physics and just enhance it overall. And so I'm going to actually be referencing some other films that do what Mulan fails at, actually it does it well. And so specifically the implementation of some types of magical elements, but also battlefield tactics. But seriously, if you want to experience some of the best examples of using a magic system as a plot device and also really cool, ingenious battlefield tactics, well, I highly suggest you listen to some great audiobooks. And, as luck would have it, Audible is sponsoring this video. Now, as I've said before, I really do think that audiobooks are actually one of the best forms of entertainment in the modern day. And if you're not enjoying them, you really are missing out. But I'm so confident in this, if you give it a try, just give it a try, you'll find you will love it, and you can try it for free if you go to www.audible.com/Shadiversity or text Shadiversity to 500 500 if you're in the US, and you can get your first audiobook for free, as well as access to the all-new Plus catalog, which gives you thousands of select audiobooks, podcasts, Audible originals, guided fitness and meditation programs, sleep tracks for better rest, and more. And you get all of that completely for free in your 30-day trial. And then, if you want to try some other audiobooks, like I would suggest my own audiobook, Chronicles of Everfall Shadow of the Conqueror, but if you actually want to try an audiobook that has a really cool focus on battlefield tactics and stuff, which is actually going to be the subject of this video, also, why don't you try out Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card on audiobook? Such a brilliant story, okay? And like I said, you can try out my own audiobook, which focuses on using magic in a satisfying way in the plot as an actual plot device that doesn't contradict itself, or cool battlefield tactics through Ender's Game. You can get either one of those audiobooks completely for free if you go to www.audible.com/Shadiversity, or if you're in the US, you text Shadiversity to 500 500. And like I said, I'm so confident, I think if you just try it out, you'll find you'll love them, as I genuinely do, okay? I have been signed up for Audible for years before they have ever sponsored me, okay? I have hundreds of them, because actually the credit that you get with your monthly subscription ends up being far cheaper than the cost of the audiobook already, and so it's a brilliant deal on top of it. So thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video. Now let's dive into some interesting, combat and battlefield tactics in the remake of Mulan. So as I mentioned, this video is only going to be a criticism and analysis of the key fight scenes and battle scenes of this film. The story structure, characterization, everything are so rife for criticism, but this isn't the point of this video. In actual fact, if you do want to see a really good video that actually breaks down and the comparison between the original Mulan and this remake and how pathetic this remake is in comparison, I'd actually recommend JX's video. Best one I've seen so far comparing the two. Really, really good. But this one, as I mentioned, we're looking at the combat and fighting, okay? So, of course, in reality, such a small, unit of cavalry would have no hope in hell of ever assailing an actual, fortress like this. It's fantasy and they have special powers, but this undermines certain important elements and actually speaks to consistency and world building, okay? If you actually had a universe where people had such extraordinary abilities like what we're about to see, well, the natural implication is that defensive structures and just tactics would adapt to account for such incredible abilities, but of course, they don't, and it just makes it very unsatisfying, and you'll see what I mean soon.
Take out the leader!
The guys on the wall so far have shot one arrow at these guys. One! And he caught it, and so does that mean he'll be able to catch every arrow? I'm sure if you just shot as many arrows as possible to the point where more arrows is, going to hit this guy at the same time than he has arms, he's not going to be able to catch enough to stop them all. But it's like, oh, he caught one, so he just won't shoot any more arrows at all. Sure. Fine. See that? The witch's ninja star shuriken thingies can pierce metal armor. Now, as unlikely as that is, just remember this fact. The movie has shown these ninja star thingies piercing metal armor. Okay, we can continue. They're still riding! No one's shooting any arrows yet. What, they're getting distracted from the lady on the inside? Yet how many soldiers do they have defending this thing? I think there'll be enough to be able to deal with the lady, and other people still shoot at these cavalry people that are riding towards it. It's just... Alright, yeah, just let them approach uncontested. So this is the point I was going to comment on before about consistency and world building, okay? See how easily they're running up the wall. They're magic. They can do it. They can just run up the wall, which kind of undermines the very purpose of having fortresses. What's the point of walls then? They can just run up over them. You know the reason why fortresses and walls were built? Is that they were effective. What's the point in building them if they could just run up over them? It's a flaw, it's a contradiction in the world building as a result. Now, I'm going to pause here and just briefly explain something. I actually have a little bit of lenience for things that are somewhat unrealistic if the result is something that is cool. And you might be saying, running up walls is really cool, so you just ignore the fact that it's unrealistic. And to some extent, I can go with things like that briefly. Like a great example is sound in space. Having sound in spaceship battles enhances the experience. It makes it more enjoyable. We can actually see a kind of, it conveys impact and destruction by hearing it. And so even though technically no sound is in space, I can accept that point of unrealism because it makes it more enjoyable. So rule of cool applies. But there comes a point where the stupidity is just too great. And honestly, it almost comes off as insulting, where the creators of the movies or whatever are just kind of relying or expecting the audience to be idiots and just say, look, flashy lights, fancy things. You don't need to believe in any logical consistency at all because it's just a fictional movie and stuff like that. Completely forgetting the very valid point that consistency and even, dare I say, a bit of realism here and there creates believability and immersion, okay? And also satisfaction. If something is achieved through a very logical process of events where you can see that was achieved because A, B, C combining to make whatever, right? It comes off really satisfactory, like that was clever. But if they just pull something out of their rear end, Deus Ex Machina, which is a literary device pointed out so often to be terrible, but people just, resort to it anyway because they're not good at writing. And so when a movie does that, when it goes so far that the bullcrap is just unbelievable, that's the point where I feel the movie or book, whatever, deserves no lenience at all. No benefit of the doubt and everything, and everything in it deserves to be rightly ripped apart. And this movie does it so much, deserves it so much because of the unending barrage of bullcrap in this, okay? The rule of cool can be used in some instances if it's properly balanced. If it gets to the point where you're just insulting the audience, no. So, in all of these guys' approach to this fortress, they really only shot one arrow. We only saw them ever shoot one arrow. That's astounding. I mean, like, even if you... That's not even rule of cool balance. That is just stupid. So, was much of that practical? Not really. Did it look cool? Yeah, decently enough. And so, when it comes to fancy, flashy choreography, there's a level that you can get away with. And so, you might be surprised. I'm not going to be criticizing too much of just the fancy kind of stuff, unless it's particularly atrocious. And also, I like Donnie Yen. More criticism comes in the battlefield tactics. So, this is a martial arts trope, but I'm pointing it out because this is a realism review, right? They're teaching, you know, these individual soldiers hand-to-hand martial arts. And these are soldiers in an army, and they're teaching hand-to-hand martial arts. Are you picking up the disconnect right there? Okay. The next thing is the type of martial arts they're teaching, okay? Again, this is very much a kung fu trope and stuff, that if you teach them kung fu, they will be good soldiers and everything. When in actual reality, traditional Chinese martial arts have very little practical application. If you want the proof of it, go check out Zhu Xiaodong, an absolute legend who has honestly received horrible treatment by the Chinese government and everything like that, and many, you know, Chinese people, because they feel he is attacking Chinese cultural heritage when he's just been trying to expose fake martial arts. And he's an MMA practitioner and fighter, and so he uses effective, proper martial arts against this fake Chinese stuff, these, you know, supposed masters who claim to be there, and he just wipes the floor with them. And then, of course, he has gotten terrible Chinese social credit score, being made a pariah, essentially, where he can't even buy a train ticket at some point in his life, and which is just terrible. He's been treated terrible, but he's a legend, and he has exposed the absolute bullcrap that exists in many overly traditional martial arts. And that's actually the type of martial arts we're seeing here in Mulan, where it's got no or very, very little practical application. And if you actually go into the actual history in China, the type of combat these soldiers would be getting taught would be unit tactics and formation and stuff, how to march together, how to respond to orders, how to work as a unit, not how to fight individually one-on-one, and they'd also be being taught how to use weapons, okay? That would be the primary focus. And if there was any training on unarmed martial arts, it'd be very little, okay? Use weapons, force multipliers. So, like, again, it's a kung fu trope, but I'm calling it out because it is, in reality, bullcrap. And Zhu Xiaodong is a legend. Look him up. Absolute mad lad. In actual fact, there is a video called Mad Lads on him. So I recommend that one as well. Legend. Much of that was impressive. Now, yes, I have done martial arts, okay? I have a point of reference, and of course, I like to train with weapons-based martial arts, HEMA and things. And so, have a look at this closely. What was that move? All right, well, the stance is bad, but there's one in particular. That weak back kick, anyway. They do this, what?
We have purposely trained him as a joke.
And even if you're training traditional martial arts, getting them to go through... This is something that Bruce Lee really ragged out. Just getting them to repeat certain moves without any resistance or against an opponent is crap. It's not a good way to train at all. So this part here, I think, is an acceptable example of going with rule of cool over realism, because this type of flashy choreography, honestly, it's enjoyable. Now, there is elements of profound impracticality, but there is also some decent, you know, maneuvers here and there that are masked with some complex choreography that I think, yeah, that's fine and it's enjoyable to watch. But this is not the type of fighting you would ever see on a real battlefield, by the way, or in a real fight. I will, of course, point that out. But look at that stance. That has no defensive value at all. She was wide open. You could easily have just stabbed forward and she wouldn't have been able to defend herself effectively at all. But see, okay, there was some good little winding and binding there. This next part, I'm on the fence about, okay? So she she kicks it. She kicks the spear, launches forward like a missile. Magic, she has the chi, right? And so, yeah, maybe, that's why I'm on the fence. It would break your foot if you really kicked something that hard to launch it that far. Like, these spears, they're actually not that light. And so to kick it with that much force, to launch it with that level of velocity, yeah, it would break your foot. Especially, it looked like she kicked it on the very end of her toe. Yet, of course, this is a setup for what happens later in the film. And if you came into this thinking there was going to be no spoilers, I don't know what you'll think. Of course there will be. It's a setup for what happens later in the film. No, I don't. I'm kicking a spear, kicking an arrow, not jiving with me. Yeah, like a lot of the Chinese people have a massive hard-on for overly traditional martial arts. Well, what we're seeing here, this type of stuff has, as I mentioned, nearly zero practical utility in a real fight, okay? It looks cool. It's a dance, and it's been over-ceremonialized. Is that a way to look at it? But the problem, okay, if you can point out a problem with what we're seeing here, is that a lot of people actually watch this and think, that's fighting, I want to do that, because if I learn that, I'll be just as good in real life. And then they get their absolute butts kicked when they get in a real fight, because they've been fed a lie, both in like cinema, but in real life. There are people who try and teach this type of stuff as practical and effective, but people get absolutely their butts kicked when they try and use it in real life. That's the issue, okay? If you want to learn actual, proper self-defense, learn proper self-defense.
What's really bizarre is Tai Chi's not really a physical fighting martial art. It's supposed to be something that's more of like a meditative
It's
movement.
like yoga. Yeah, it's like a yoga deal.
I don't want to comment on the story and stuff too much. This is, like I said, a review of a combat. But the fact that they're trying to supplant this achievement with the original Mulan is just laughable in the extreme. It does not compare. It doesn't reveal anything, to her credit apart from being born with magic, essentially. It's utter crap. It's just, look, watch JX's video. He points it out well. We are about to see something that when I heard, I had to take a double take on. It's like, surely they did not just say that, okay? So, guys coming in, get a report of the enemy army. Listen.
Recon assembles not a half day's ride from here. They prepare for battle. We're greatly outnumbered. Fortify for siege!
No. He who moves first controls the enemy.
Did you hear that? We are greatly outnumbered. It was a bit muffled, and so I went back, listened to it again, like, okay, it sounds like we are greatly outnumbered, not, we greatly outnumber then. So I went back just again, a third time, put the subtitles on just to confirm this point, okay? And, okay, we are greatly outnumbered. That's the thing. So the bad guys outnumber them. And then we hear something really clever, okay? Whoever says the commander guy, he should be promoted because he knows what's on. We should prepare for a siege. I mean, if you are about to be attacked, you know the enemy's coming to you, and you are already in a very good fortified position. You're in a fortress, okay, with walls and everything. Yes, absolutely. The best tactical choice you would have would be to fortify right in then, not exit this fortified position, this great fortress that you have to help you out, which is a force multiplier and everything, and put yourself in a vulnerable position against a foe that vastly outnumbers you. And yet, I mean, I'm not blaming Donnie Yen, okay? He didn't write this crap, but his character replies, "No." What did he say exactly?
No. He who moves first controls the enemy.
No, I mean, just on a logical sense, that's bullcrap. Because if the enemy moves first and is chasing you, if you move and they're following you, guess who's controlling the enemy then? But you're moving second. So just the answer is bullcrap, but also what they're going to do is the most stupid thing you could possibly do in this situation. Let's just leave our Of course, I mean, fortresses have already been shown to be utterly useless because they can run up walls. Is that why they're leaving? But surely, even if they can run up walls, if you use it effectively, if you shoot more than one bloody arrow, it might be rather beneficial, more beneficial than running out into the open and just letting yourself being attacked. Holy crap, this is dumb. Like, so, that's the level of logic and thought that has already been, that we can see is being put into the battlefield tactics side of this film. That's the level of quality, okay? So you can imagine how much better it's going to get from here. And look, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm ragging on. I have an issue with the Chinese government, I will admit. I think they're an authoritarian dictatorship which oppresses their people and everything like that. Look, there is some beautiful, rich history in their culture that should be admired and celebrated and stuff like that. But there is a tendency that I've seen in many things coming out from China where it's propaganda trying to, like, push it way too far, where they're the greatest thing that has ever existed in all of history. Well, no, there are some huge points of criticism in Chinese history and culture as well, as you can point out in any culture. The martial arts example is a good thing. What? Traditional Chinese martial arts has a lot of bull crapped in. Well, if you say so, we will make you a social pariah and try and ruin your life like they tried to do with Zhu Xiaodong. You can see why I have a bit of a bone to pick with that, all right? Anyway, so I admit it's coming out now and then. I can't help it because it honestly really annoys me. So look, we'll go back to the battle, and I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. First, their line of approach. They're moving from, over a vast field, and as we'll see, into a valley. They have the high ground. A couple of important things. Pay attention to what's behind them. We see fields. Just fields. There's no mountains behind them. Okay. That's a key point right there. Just pay attention. Remember that, all right, as we continue. Riding forward, they get to a top of the hill. Okay, what's behind them? Fields, there's mountains off to one side, but okay, there, all right. All right, you can barely see them. Let's wait until the mist clears. Ah, there they are. So, the good guys, they're cutting off the enemy. They know the enemy's coming to them to wipe them out and everything. So they have the pick of their deployment. Okay, and as we see, it's a very interesting kind of terrain structure. We have some valleys, we've got hills, and they were there first. And so out of all the locations they could pick, they decided to pick the low ground in the valley to make their formations. I have trouble describing how dumb that is, because high ground, it's a big advantage for many reasons. One of the big reasons why having the high ground is an advantage is if you're going to be deploying archers, okay? It actually means your archers can shoot a bit further. It also means the enemy won't be able to reach your line as quickly because they have to go uphill. So those 2 points right then give a massive advantage if you grab the high ground. Now, does this army have archers? Yes, we will see. They do have archers. In fact, that's the thing they lead with first. As, the bad guys are approaching, they bring out the archers and get them to shoot. So, with that in mind, that's one of their leading things that they're going to do when they engage the enemy. They choose the low ground and give the high ground to the cavalry that's going to be attacking them. Do you remember, the level of stupidity in this is astounding. There is a reason when I saw this, I was like, oh boy, we are making I'm reviewing this. I'm making a video on this because this is special, right? This is, Sorry, do you see? The guy's expression is like, I can just picture the caption. What are they doing? They're just handing this battle to us on a silver platter. I don't know, like, surely, is it a trap? Is there anything luring us in? Like, that would be my reaction. I was like, thank you. Sure, okay, like, can you just check over those hills, make sure we're not being lured in and going to get flanked? Just double check. Okay? What, there's no one else anywhere? Like, they're really just giving this to us like this? Look at the high ground that they have surrendered to that kind of enemy cavalry. Oh And also, look at what's behind them, all right? You might see, oh, those are, snowy mountains, okay? But look how far away these snowy mountains are specifically. There's actually a vast distance of empty field before you reach those mountains, as we saw them approach from, okay? So, again, I'm pointing this out because it's important.
They've left the garrison.
A bold move that changes nothing.
Oh no, it does not change nothing. It changes a hell of a lot. And a bold move, you could call it that. You could also call it blindingly stupid. So, these are archers, right? What's one of the main things archers can do? They can shoot over a long distance. Okay. And so does that just question, would they be able to shoot over a line of pikemen or spearmen that would be just in front of them? Yes, they would. Even if that's in volleys, what if they were shooting, close range on a lower trajectory? Could they shoot through or past a line of pikemen in front of them? Yes. Yes, they could. All the pikemen have to do is lower it a little bit. So, in actual fact, you don't need to move the archers forward and expose them to an enemy charge of cavalry. And you could have a line of spearmen, pikemen, there ready to break that cavalry charge quite effectively. And moving forward 5 meters, 10 meters at most, isn't going to change much. I'm going to rewind just a little bit. And I want us to count as to how much time passes from when he says raise and when they draw their bows. Okay, so let's go back. Now they're drawn. 1, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I counted 24 seconds. I don't know what the official timer was, but holy crap, that's a long time. I brought in my longbow for just this point in the film to show something. So this bow here is the lowest end in which most armies would want their bows to be at. It's 100 pounds. And that tends to be the lower end of warbow range. It can go as low as 70, but I think my mind has changed to actually, 70 is pretty. I've seen some impressive stuff done with a 70-pound bow. But just as a point of reference, most bows that you shoot when you go to the archery range are like 35 pounds. 50 pounds is considered the higher end of standard target bows, okay? And so this one here is 100 pound, twice as heavy, okay? Twice as difficult to pull back as most bows that you will find going to any archery range. And this is still in the low end of the warbow category. But okay, so full draw, 100 pounds. And this, if I did it longer than that, I would injure myself. Oh, gosh. Maybe injure myself right then, right? My point is, pulling back a warbow is difficult. Holding it for a long time is even more difficult. And you're only going to hold it back for as long as you need to line up your shot, and then you are letting that thing loose. That's it. Nearly 30 seconds. Sorry, look, it's a trope, it's done, but I'm going to point it out every time I see it because it's utter bullcrap. And it's like, this is a battlefield army, okay? And if they are using archers, their bows should be at least 70 pound, if not 100, and that's the low end, which has any chance of penetrating armor. And if they're that heavy, you're not holding it back for long at all. I wonder how many volleys they will get off. They shoot one, and they held it ages. One long volley. Hit some of the lackeys. Yeah, okay. Are they going to shoot again? They shot one volley. Surely they're going to shoot again. Does this movie have a habit of archers only ever shooting once? Shoot! Aha. Uh-huh. I just say I like the way that they're shooting. Three finger, which is technically called the Mediterranean draw. This is like, if this is supposed to be Asiatic archery, which means it should be thumb draw, but I do Mediterranean, which is three fingers with the arrow on over the thumb, which is the outside of the bow, as we see here. And it works effectively. So I'm like, hey, I like the way that they're shooting. Technically, it's not accurate to what was common during this point in history in that part of the world. I'm not saying no one shot this way. It's possible that a couple people did. But what we know from historical evidence and what the tradition has been passed on, more often our conclusion is that it's thumb draw, which is drawing with the... Look, I'll grab my bow and I'll show you just so those who don't know can be educated. Thumb draw is the thumb around and then you hold it down like so. And you actually usually need a thumb ring because the pressure on that one joint is... I couldn't do it without a thumb ring and I don't have it, hence I'm not doing it. But that's thumb draw, okay? But anyway, yeah, that's what's more common around that part of the world, especially Mongolian-style archery, horse archery specifically. Yep, okay, two guys they're actually making a fairly smart choice, is that we have just gotten destroyed. Retreat, good tactical option right there. In actual fact, you'd think that would be the smart thing to do, Mulan. What is Mulan going to do, and what chance does she honestly think she will have against all those super trained magic, soldiers that can run up walls and everything? She could take them on. She's going to... This is what we would call suicide. But of course she doesn't catch up on them. She gets lost and then just runs into a witch.
Your deceit weakens you.
I'm pausing there because the witch has shown herself capable of some really impressive things. She can turn into animals. She can actually turn into a massive flock of birds or bats or whatever, whatever they are. She can like do things with her wrists, she can get material and wrap people up, and like material cloth is a lethal, effective weapon in this setting. And she's just done something as well. She pushed Mulan with a type of telekinesis even. These are all abilities that the witch can do. Why am I pointing out? This will be important for later on in the video. Let us remember her abilities, so we will know them in context when it's important.
It poisons your chi.
Lying poisons her chi. Okay, look, that's actually an interesting kind of element to the magic system that I think could be a really fun, immersive thing. That if you have a chi magic power, look, just the fact that Mulan has heaps of magic and she's born with it undermines the very kind of original purpose of the story of Mulan, okay? Overcoming difficulties, showing that you can be really capable as a soldier even if you're physically weaker than all the other soldiers and stuff like that. Like really great things that the original Mulan had in it, especially in its messaging and stuff, and that's undermined by the fact that she's just born amazing. But okay, so if we gave it that and just, this is the magic system, she was born incredible and stuff, this could be an interesting element if they were consistent with it, okay? But I'm, again, pointing this out for something that's going to come up a bit later. Remember when I asked you to pay attention to the fact her shuriken ninja star thingies killed soldiers through their armor previously in this film? This time, it doesn't even hit Mulan's armor, it hits her leather, corset thing underneath, and it doesn't even penetrate it. Just physics. I know this one is, you could say is a nitpick because Chi explains it all, but like if we would actually look at this from, a Newtonian physics perspective and stuff, the amount of force that shuriken would have, the velocity, to be able to actually lift someone off their feet and knock them through the air would be so great that shuriken would have went through her completely, okay? And the thing that it gets stopped on is like, with the amount of force that was shown to be in it, the thing that it gets stopped on wouldn't stop it. It would go right through it. What is she wearing? Just a leather kind of corset thing to flatten the chest. That's amazing armor. It's better than the metal armor that couldn't stop the arrows before. That's incredible. Everyone should be wearing that. If it could stop a shuriken with so much force that it knocks you into the air and... Incredible. I know, it was her chi. She can create a pressure barrier, force field. So now she does not want to poison her chi, even though her chi must have been pretty darn amazing to be able to save herself from that shuriken thing, all right? But she doesn't want to poison her chi, so she is going to discard the lie. You think you could do that without discarding your armor? I mean, women can wear armor, can't they? But no, she's going to throw away really useful armor to show that she's a woman. Maybe just loosen the helmet. I would like loosen the hair and put the helmet on top, perhaps, okay? Or just say I'm a woman and embrace your womanhood and still wear armor. Because armor's really useful. Maybe not in this film where the arrows just go through it like it's not there, but look at the chaos of that battlefield. You wouldn't know who's winning or who, like if something degenerated to this level, you'd be retreating. You're like, mate, what's going on? Are we winning? We're losing? We're like, it's just, and the other enemy, they still have cavalry. Where did their cavalry go? If they just cavalry ran in and just wiped out all the guys wearing the red armor, game over. But suddenly the bad guys aren't on cavalry anymore. I don't see any dead horses. So the foot kick spear thing. Yeah, look, I think that's, like I said, still in the line. Rule of cool. For me, it'll work for some people. So I'm not criticizing that too much. Like, it just doesn't work for me, right? But what I am pointing out is that, okay, now it's established Mulan can deflect incoming projectiles. With her foot, even. She can deflect them with her feet. Just remember that. She's fighting as a woman. And look, the choreography is not reflecting what a real battle would be like, but aside from that, it's cinematic, and like, perhaps I would have given it a pass if there wasn't so much crap everywhere else. Wow, whoa, hang on. Oh, what's going on here? They fall into a shield wall. Almost Testrudus? It's the Roman formation. It looks very Roman. Why didn't they do that when they were fighting the bad guys? That's a great unit formation. Maybe even also be really effective against cavalry running at you even. That's great. Why didn't you do that before? But birds. Okay, these are nasty birds. Trebuchet. Interesting. Soon we will see what's behind them in this shot. And it's not vast plains and fields and everything like that. So that means this trebuchet and this separate detachment of the army, one, with how fast the cavalry was running at the beginning of this battle, it would take them longer to reach that point by moving a trebuchet on wheels, because that would move really slowly and stuff. The next point about the trebuchet and how this is like really dumb. They could have had a trebuchet with them if they were intending to, lay siege to a castle. Trebuchets are great against castles. In a battlefield where you're fighting a mobile enemy that can just move their army and everything like that, they're very much, in most instances, a fixed ranged weapon, and altering their range is a cumbersome, lengthy process. From adding in weight, removing weight, let's do a test fire, test shot, whatever. How far do they go? Okay, let's angle it a bit. They're hard to aim, and they take long to line up the shot. And so because of that, having a stationary target that doesn't move that's the way that they can be used effectively. If you have a target that can just move a little to the left or move towards you, using a trebuchet is stupid. Trebuchets are interesting here. They're especially in this film. In this film, the trebuchet is profoundly accurate when the plot needs it to be accurate. But when the plot doesn't want them to be accurate, it's the worst accuracy in the world and can suddenly shoot, like fire, whatever, throw a rock 5 times further than what we've seen it before without them altering the counterweight in it one bit. Okay, so they are rolling the trebuchet in. They're rolling it in, and watch how accurate the first shot is with this trebuchet. No calibration needed, okay? Counterweight, perfectly weighted. By the way, this is why a lot of trebuchets had a basket as their counterweight, so they could throw in rocks and remove rocks and stuff to adjust the range on it. This trebuchet is a fixed range trebuchet, essentially. They could alter it by tilting the actual base, maybe back and forth, and it's on wheels, so it'll get some tilting, which would adjust the range slightly. Not much. What's behind them? Wow, a mountain suddenly much closer than any other mountain we've seen in this scene, and the snow on this mountain reaches their level, almost their level, okay? And no other mountain has snow on it. On that, all the other mountains, there's snow much higher. But this mountain is magic, where the snow just reached much lower, and all the other mountains, the snow is much, much higher. Yeah, continuity, utter atrocious in that sense, all right? It's just putting it there for the sake of the plot. But the other thing, okay, pretend this mountain was here. And if I try and then lay out this battle scene for you, the enemy's here. They approached from a vast, field. Over field, they charged all the way in, reached a hilltop, then we come into a valley, and the good guys are here. And the mountaintop must be off to the side, over there or on that side. And so they decided, moving the trebuchet in, we're going to move the trebuchet off to the side on this mountain here, not on the mountain that if they set up the trebuchet on the mountain that they approached from, or the valley that they approached from, there'd be nothing behind them apart from vast plains, and that's it. But instead, they moved to the side and set up the trebuchet directly in front of a snowy, peaked mountain with the snow really high, and it's so obvious that the snow is precarious. So obvious, in fact, that Mulan notices it with a first glance. No one else does. In actual fact, not only do they not notice this, they decide we're going to go out of our way to set up the trebuchet right here. For no other tactical reason at all. They already had the high ground from the area that they approached from. There was a nice hill that they could have set up from, like right there, where the cavalry charged initially from. But they don't do it. They don't set up there there's no reason at all. There's nothing to explain why they decide to set up there, apart from the plot. In the writers, we just need the trebuchet here to make it vulnerable for this, First shot, no calibration needed. This thing's aim is incredible. Like, amazing. That's the implication, right? They can hit whatever they're aiming at with this thing. Pay attention to that point. It's gonna come back. Oh. It's reloaded. That's how quickly it took to reload that trebuchet. All Mulan has been doing is this. And in that length of time, the trebuchet's reloaded. Pay attention to that. Oh, look at that precarious amount of unstable snow. That's so close. How convenient. It's almost like it was put there by magic. Did her chi do it? Oh, second shot. That's how long it takes to get a second shot. And notice on this second shot, instant hit. Perfect aim. Not a single miss. Okay. All right, so Mulan's intention now is to, ride over the decent length, the decent distance that she is, not only to the enemy, but she wants to get around the enemy, not past, around. And so to get around, it's not just the distance from there to there, you actually need to go around, which multiplies the distance you need to travel at least by double, if not more. That's the length of distance she needs to get to. And then she is going to set up a trap with soldiers' helmets and stuff. And we just saw how quickly this trebuchet can reload. Pretty darn quickly, and its aim is incredible. So, regardless if her magical tactic is going to work, okay, whatever tactic it is, because she doesn't know if they're going to react to her, or that she has no idea that, how... if she's gonna shoot at them. No idea, especially with the trebuchet. So this is a massive gamble based on the most thin possibility already. So there's that. Then, she's expecting to get there and set up this trap in time before all her friends are wiped out with the rate of fire that this thing can do. Well, let's observe now. Watch how fast she gets behind them. On horse, picks up some helmets, and all right, so and she's and she teleports. She's there already. Now, clearly, it's a cut, okay? So, which implies some time must have passed for her to get there. Yes, some time must have passed for her to get there. So much time, in fact, that her friends should all be dead by now, because we've already seen how fast this trebuchet can shoot. And ready? We see this shot? They haven't shot another time. Are they taking a note out of the Archer's playbook in this film? What is going on here? The stupidity in this is astounding. Do the directors or creators or whoever made this just expect the audience to be bloody stupid and just not notice the utter crap that is being fed in front of their eyes here? This is amazing. Enemy on the ridge. Turn around, shoot back. Good plan. Good plan. Better yet, while they need to take cover, while you're shooting at them, why not just send a couple of men? There look to be only 5 or 6 there. Okay, 10, 15, 20, you got the men to spare. Take them out. Problem solved, not a problem. Yet what do? They're hitting him. They're, to their knowledge, they're killing this supposed unit event, which obviously is just Mulan, but from their perspective, they're taking them out. They're hitting them in the head. This isn't going to be difficult to solve at all. Done. We don't even need to send any soldiers to kill them. Look at how effective that is. Oh, another. They're almost dead. So why they're turning the Trebuchet around. Why? This is so stupid. This is like Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker levels of stupidity in terms of, oh, wow. And but I mean, we saw how accurate this thing was, remember? Like 2 shots, instant hit, bang, bang, no calibration needed. So sure, I mean, Mulan's dead now. This thing isn't going to miss, obviously. Wow. This isn't just missing. I think this is a literal application of the term missed by a mile. Because it's almost a mile. Like, looking at the distance here, let's watch this. And Mulan just knew that they were going to do one of the most stupid things imaginable in turning that trebuchet around. And she just knew that. I mean, you should have a problem with this. This is a level of stupidity that, like everyone watching Mulan should have a massive... Don't let movie makers get away with this crap. It's amazing. And can movies do better? Yes, they can do better. And when they do, the battles and fight scenes are so much better. Seriously, like, go watch Outlaw King, okay? Outlaw King, the story of Robert the Bruce. And in the last battle, they set up some really interesting, very, understandable battlefield tactics. Like sticks luring the cavalry charge in with swampland on the side so they'll get bogged to just trap them in there into a kill zone, outnumbered, and they can be like... Those tactics enhance, like, that's clever. I can see what's going on here. And then seeing it play out is like, yes! And you get into it. And it's like, it's smart, it's clever. You can see why a weaker force beats a stronger force. And it works. And it works. It's just good, okay? And so that type of tactics enhances the experience, the enjoyability, the immersion. Contrast to this crap, and it becomes a comedy. Question. There was a lot of enemy guys, right? Fighting with the good guys in the valley. Then they see the trebuchet getting set up and they flee. They see the witch coming in and they flee. And then the trebuchet is getting set up. But it's shown pretty clearly that the trebuchet and the men with that trebuchet are not with the guys who are actually fighting with the good guys in the valley. They retreat somewhere so the good guys can be picked off by the artillery level trebuchet thing. Okay. The Avalanche comes in, wipes out the trebuchet and those guys, and honestly, like, it looks like it kills a decent number of the soldiers, and it should have wiped them all out as well because they're just like swimming on the Avalanche like it's water. And granted, that's Mulan swims on the Avalanche in the cartoon, but they kind of get away with it because it's a cartoon. This is a live action. Just by watching live action, you are naturally more aware of the laws of physics because we're seeing real people. So yes, the animation can get away with it. even though you can rightly criticize it. But still, she should have killed her friends. It's a miracle the friends don't die in this. And then separate to that, where are all those other enemies that were fighting with them that retreated? There's still a massive army, you would assume, somewhere. But no, this wipes they weren't all there on that ridge. Where did they go? Where did the horses? They had huge cavalry units. Where did they go? We are almost done here, but there are some howls, and I'll just point out the two big ones. But there's more than that, of course. Maybe three. This goes back to what I was saying before. If the movie wasn't insulting our intelligence constantly, I could probably almost let it get away with this. It could be, cool, rule of cool, maybe. I mean, it's profoundly impractical. I know of no one who shoots that way, and if you're ever in a real tense battlefield situation, you would never shoot that way. And any grace that might have been granted this film is just dead, all right? And it just makes you laugh. Like, that's the unfortunate thing. The stupidity in this film gets to the point where even things that might have been cool if it was, a small little garnish on an overly good film and stuff, even those things now look ridiculous because it's wrapped up in complete garbage, okay? And you just laugh at it. It's like... You've lost me. You've lost me, film. There's no coming back from it. Okay, yeah, a step. Just a step to the left. All right. Or in front, or even back. Just one step, anywhere. And you'll be fine. There's big gaps in between these arrows and ropes, right? And let's just see, do you have time to step? All right, yes. In that time, right then, you could have just stepped out. Even now, there's enough space above to jump out, do a roll. You're a ninja magic martial arts person. Okay, just stand there. Sure. Get captured. Yep. Stand, help, sure. This guy, his goal is to assassinate the Emperor. He now has the Emperor at his mercy. Okay, job achieved, mission achieved. Problem solved, job done. You can kill him. Go. Just kill him. He doesn't, for the... I don't know how much time he has him at his mercy. Minutes? An hour? More? Doesn't kill him. And we don't know why. And his whole purpose was to assassinate the Emperor, and he's mocking him. Oh, you could have killed him then.
And in honor of my father.
You could have killed him again. It's almost like he doesn't want to kill him and is using him as bait to fight this magical warrior person who will come to save you. And now that's the warrior that's going to come and stop. Oh, she's special. She's going to beat you, right? So watch what happens. Okay. He has shot an arrow at Mulan. Should this really threaten Mulan? She has already shown that she can dodge arrows really easily. Look at those horses. She was on a horse and she dodged arrows. Okay, so arrows shouldn't be too much of a problem. All right, maybe she doesn't. She can kick, projectiles out of the air that threaten her. She's got chi, all right? So this arrow should not threaten her at all based on what has been previously established according to her abilities, okay? So that's the first thing. But the witch feels that that arrow is going to kill Mulan, so the witch needs to stop the arrow. Could the witch stop the arrow using any of the abilities she has shown thus far? Yeah, I would say she could. She can do some amazing things. She can do the whole material flappy stuff. She could hit it aside with material and everything. She can stop a sword strike with her armor things. I mean, she's got armor that can stop strikes like that. She's really, really good aiming with those shurikens. Maybe she could throw a shuriken, knock it aside. She could turn into a flock of birds and just send one of the little birds down. Because clearly killing one of the little birds doesn't kill her. I'm assuming one of the soldiers managed to kill one of those little birds when she was sweeping. But instead of any of the above-mentioned things, she decides to commit suicide because reason. And this is supposed to be a really noble, heroic sacrifice, okay? And it is so dumb. Literally, I've seen people burst out laughing.
What the fuck? Why? What the fuck? I told you she'd turn good at the end. I told you. Of all the things
I'm sorry. She can form like thousands of birds, and she decides to just kill herself. Okay.
Should have used her blankets or something.
Mulan, say now it's personal.
Oh my god, my face.
The next massive egregious thing is this right here. It's a Hollywood trope. I've pointed out many a time before of the swords cross and the good guy, whoever, the combatants stare off at each other. This is the worst, most egregious, excessive example of this trope I have ever seen. And I'm not kidding. It is amazing. Watch how long this goes for. It's utterly incredible. And if you've ever seen any of my other videos, in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, this is so stupid from an actual functional, realistic swordsmanship perspective. See where Mulan's sword is right now? She just tilts it forward. Like that, okay? She would strike him in the head because he's holding it low. This is called being in the bind, and when you're in the bind, you look for advantage and leverage to be able to manipulate your opponent's sword and get it through. It is a position of great opportunity, and so in real sword fighting, like if either combatant is actually trying to beat their opponent, never stays static. You never have a static block like this for very long, if at all, because they're always moving. So watch where this happens. Right? Holding. What? We're not done yet. And he even growls. It's going on and on and on. It's amazing. Oh, it's just incredible. And oh wow, that was special. We experienced something right there. I'll just go to the ending, and again, this is one of those things I'm on the fence about. Anyone can catch arrows, like, you know, so look how easily the Emperor catches this arrow. Bang! So, well, when I say anyone, he can't, because if you kick an arrow, that's when you can't catch it, because kicking an arrow is launched with far more force and power than from an actual bow that's made for it. He didn't catch it. It was going too fast. Chi! Mulan wins because of magic. She's just powerful. She didn't overcome anything. She didn't do anything inventive. She's just got magic and can do it. Because reasons. This movie is a train wreck on so many levels. And I've only been criticizing it on the combat, the choreography, and the battlefield tactics and everything. And it is... I'm speechless at how bad it is. But that's just that, okay? The plot, characterization, consistency is just... Well done, Disney. I didn't think after Rise of Skywalker you could, you know, beat that, but this is coming close, I tell ya. My goodness. But no, Rise of Skywalker's still worse. I need to take a break. Wow, yeah. There we go. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go lie down. Hope to see you in the next video. Until then, farewell.